Greetings, Earthlings, wisdom keepers, wisdom seekers. Welcome back to WizdomDropz, your source for daily drops of wisdom and savvy cat astrology. Meow. My name is Tonia, and today we are discussing the dawning of the age of Aquarius, and specifically the Jupiter Saturn conjunction. But before we jump into the chart and before we actually see what the planets are telling us about this snapshot in time, we're going to distinguish the myth of the dawning of the age of Aquarius versus the dawning of the era of Aquarius. And so you might have heard some let's say more stern astrologers or more traditional astrologers out there kind of cast some shade on the age of Aquarius and say, that's not a thing that's happening for a long time. This is not the age of Aquarius. And I want to bring you clarity today on that debate. People out there will tell you, who are really good astrologers, this isn't the dawning of the age of Aquarius because that's not happening until the precession of the equinox gets to Aquarius. And right now it is not in Aquarius, it's in, Pisces. And I'm like, okay, but there's other astrologers such as Lada Doncheva, Ksenia Moore, to name a few. Even like Nadia Shah seems to recognize this as like a change in our collective consciousness, right? For like a longer period of time. Those astrologers are talking more about it on this wavelength. But today I'm dispelling what each of these groups of people are saying to you. And I'm actually explaining what is the freaking precession of the equinox and why does everybody make such a big damn deal about it? So you're going to find out by the end of this video. It's a little bit longer today. This is your one-stop shop video for the next 20 years, really, if you're looking to understand the age of Aquarius. And this is going to give you an insight on all of that from a very deep astrological perspective. So I'm really excited to be the bearer of this news for you today. Thanks for choosing WizdomDropz as your source for information on this. And it's an honor to be here in this capacity. I love all of my subscribers who send all that positive energy and put comments and share their experiences and how this is impacting them and just all the glorious things that this community does. So I also am going to invite you, before we jump into the details, if you're not already a subscriber to this YouTube channel and you resonate with the content that I am putting out, I do put out a video every day of the week and it costs you nothing right now to get access to that. So I'm inviting you to subscribe if you haven't already. And at any point, for no matter who you are, whether you're a longtime subscriber, a newbie, whatever, this video brings you value. When it does, at that moment, you find yourself like, damn, I did not know that. Or like, whoa, that's a good thought. Or that's a good point. Or like, whoa, I'm going to use that. Whatever. I'm inviting you to hit the like button because that helps other people get this information. And this is the information era, baby. It's so true because Aquarius, hello. But that's about the end of that, except I'm available for readings again. So the email for that is down below in this description box. If you're interested in that, I do that for an exchange rate. And I love serving people in that capacity because it helps you develop your understanding of not only yourself and your soul and your story of you deeper, more deeply, but your understanding of astrology. And so it's a beautiful vessel into the soul is astrology. It's like a consciousness vessel into understanding yourself further, astrology. So anyway, that nerdy Aquarian ET ratings Earthlings aside, let's jump into the details of this Jupiter Saturn conjunction. But before we do, the debate. Why do people say Age of Aquarius is different than the era of Aquarius? Once and for all explained. So it starts with a story, and I'm going to show you a visual in like 2 seconds, okay? Precession of the equinox. I'm going to explain it for you. This is the era, okay, changing. When you see a constellation in the heavens behind the vernal equinox point, this is a cycle that takes roughly 30,000 years to happen. At that moment, you see on that vernal equinox a different constellation behind the vernal equinox. I'm going to show you a visual in a second. That is the dawning of whatever era we are talking about. This is why fuddy-duddy or more serious or more you know, not inaccurate, but more maybe like conservative astrologers will tell you this isn't quite the dawning of Aquarius yet. Because at this moment in time that you and me are vibing on this planet, and throughout the rest of our lifetimes, factually speaking, okay, it is still the age of Pisces, because that is still the constellation behind the precession of the equinox point. Okay, so now let's look at a visual. However, there's a big caveat that it is the dawning of the era of Aquarius, and this is the hearkening of this new era, because in the fullness of time, 20,000 years ain't shit. It's about to be 600 years until this actually dawns in from this more conservative vantage point. And if you think about 600 years, it's a bleep, it's a moment, it's a wink, it's a cosmic wink in the history of our universe and in the existence. So let's look at the visual that I have to describe this construct to you. You should be seeing this very handy dandy little visual. So this is planet Earth, right? And basically we're rotating, okay, throughout the solar system on this ecliptic. And at the moment of the vernal equinox, that's spring if you're in the northern hemisphere, that is a special moment where we see behind the sun the constellation that I'm trying to impart to you is not yet Aquarius and is currently and has been for thousands of years Pisces. But do not fret. But I want you to understand before we jump into why it actually is the dawning of the age of Aquarius today and for the next 20 years, the next 200 years. I'm going to explain that in a second, but I want you to understand this more conservative thing. And you can make your own decisions, you feel. But like basically, this point that you see in green here, that is currently still the constellation popping up here is still Pisces. And again, this cycle to change signs, to change constellations is roughly 30,000 years long. It's like 27,000 years long or something like that. So, you know, just be aware that those people who are like, this isn't really what's happening, this is why they're saying it. Because it's going to be, again, the late 2600s when this finally does change to Aquarius. So right now it's still Pisces, and for the next like roughly 600 years, you know, y'all, is gonna be Pisces. So that's why I want you to know that. That's what I want you to know about that. That's the like astronomy of it all. That's how it looks. Now I'm gonna tell you why, and then we're gonna show this chart. The Jupiter Saturn conjunction happening today at 0 degrees as I film this 21 of December 21st, 2020. Happy winter solstice, everybody. By the way, because the sun also entered Aquarius, or excuse me, Capricorn, as we're about to see. But why is this a big deal? This is a big deal that Jupiter and Saturn are conjuncting at 0 degrees Aquarius, because that is the conjunction that marks a new era throughout all of time that we know of astrology in. In other words, when Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in the heavens, a new dynasty, a new kingdom, a new era of rulership, a new era of royalty is born. So throughout the time of astrology's existence on Earth as we know it for at least 4,000 years, which I think is a gross understatement to the existence of this body of knowledge, but that's the historians feed us, so whatevs. 4,000 years allegedly is how long astrology has at minimum been on planet Earth, okay? In that amount of time, when Jupiter and Saturn conjunct throughout that whole time, baby, this is original stuff here we're talking about, that is when a new kingdom is born. And this conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn happens every 20 years, okay? Now, you might be saying, so if it happens every 20 years, why is this so different? Why is this so unique? Who gives a crap, okay, about this? And that's a great question. We have not had an Age of Aquarius shift, okay, like this in 600 years. Renaissance, anybody? This is a renaissance. This is a new beginning of consciousness, a golden era, if you will, of consciousness we are entering into, because Jupiter and Saturn are conjuncting, okay, in the sign of Aquarius for the first time in 600 years. And the last 600 years, for your information, for understanding this further, this great conjunction has been happening in Capricorn, in Taurus, in Virgo, in the earth signs. So this has not been an air era, okay, for a long time, for hundreds of years. And now it is firmly an air era for hundreds of years. The next 200 years will be an air era, aka will be where the Jupiter Saturn conjunctions are happening in for the next hundreds of years. So this conjunction, to get back full circle as to why the Jupiter Saturn conjunction is so important today for the next 20 years and moreover the next 200 years, is very important because it's this first one. It's the first effing one in a longer series. Do you get it? Not only is it the first one, here's the poetry. We're going to share a screen now. You're going to love this. Not only is it the first one, whoops, that's not what I wanted to show you. Try again. That's what I wanted to show you. Okay, not only is it the first conjunction happening in air signs, but it's the first conjunction happening in air signs that's hearkening this new era of 200 years, and it's on the winter effing solstice. The fucking sun, pardon my French, enters today, the same exact day. This is a cosmic joke, y'all, that we have this 0 degree 29 minute exact perfection of a conjunction, okay, happening. The sun enters Capricorn. And that officially marks, if you know your astrology and understand how the sun actually deems the seasons, the first day of winter. Today is the first true day of winter in the northern hemisphere. Okay. And conversely, the first day of summer in the southern hemisphere. Now, with that said, you might be like, but it's already been getting cold. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's already been getting cold because it's been autumn. The sun has been in autumn. You know what I'm saying? Autumn signs. But with that said, this is the first day of winter is also the shortest night, okay? The longest night, the shortest day. So with that said, what's interesting, well, I guess in the southern hemisphere, that's actually accurate. It's the shortest night tonight and it's the longest day today. But what's interesting about this thing, and ironic, and kind of like spirit making a little cosmic joke at us about the winter solstice in particular, is that winter solstices are the longest night and the shortest day, but they also mark the point, because of that, at which the sun comes back more and more each day from there on out, until we see on the opposite side of things the summer solstice. So to re-explain that, in case your brain was having a hard time wrapping around like, what I'm saying with that, this is the longest night, you feel? Tomorrow night, it ain't the longest night. The longest night gets shorter and shorter every day after this point, you feel? So with that said, it's also the darkest night of the year. The first day of winter is, interestingly, oxymoronically enough, also the hearkening of like the bringing back of light. So light comes back as we enter the winter period. Isn't that fascinating? So more light comes as winter begins and continues. Throughout winter, more and more light is happening every single day. Throughout the so-called darkest, phase you might think of the year, it brings back the sun with it. So that's like a really poetic place to cosmically, divinely position this 0 degree conjunction, the great conjunction, the first conjunction in air signs that will be lasting for 200 years. This is a beautifully poetic scene and setting that spirit has given us. You cannot make this shit up, people. This is the astrology of it all. This is the facts of it all. You know what I'm saying? So now that we've discussed all that, we're going to go into more of this chart. This is a 0 degree 29 minute exact conjunction happening on the 21st of December. It happened exactly at 11:07 a.m. Central Standard Time, where I'm at, or 12:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, wherever you're at on the earth, this is it, baby. And the reason that this is, gorgeous outside of that is that Saturn rules, okay, Aquarius. If you haven't seen my video on what Aquarius is in general, I highly recommend you check that out. It's going to be linked somewhere here, and it's in the end credits if you watch the video to the end. Okay, so there's that. But Saturn rules Aquarius, and Aquarius is therefore a great place for Saturn to be transiting, because it gives Saturn more dignity. It gives Saturn more of its higher vibe. Saturn functions better in Aquarius than it does Capricorn, where it has been transiting the last 3 years. So Saturn is in the best place it can be between the signs of Capricorn and Aquarius that it naturally rules. Okay, so that's excellent news for how we're likely going to be experiencing this era of Aquarius. And by the way, the next Jupiter Saturn conjunction happens in 20 years, but it's in a different air sign. It's not in Aquarius. So when I say this astrology chart you're looking at is going to impact your next 20 years, think about how old you are and add 20 years. This could be for some of us the end of our lifetimes. We are entering the age of Aquarius as we exit our lifetimes. For some of us, this is the most significant chunk of our life where we're actually doing things out in the world. If you are a millennial watching this, this is your life. This is your era. You are here to rule this shit in this era. If you are a millennial, we were literally born for this. Tell me you didn't get goosebumps, because I just did. So the next 20 years of life, if you're 30 plus 20, that's 50. You feel? If you're 20 watching this plus 20, that's 40. If you're 50 watching this plus 20, that's 70. You see what I'm saying? So we are all in this age of Aquarius, this era of Aquarius, this spark. This is a spark that ignites the dynamite of the next 200 years, that leads us up to this extreme awakening in consciousness that further solidifies in a very deep, intensified level in 600 years' time, when we see the precession of the equinox catch up to this. Again, thousands of years in the span of Earth's consciousness ain't shit, and people have been here for millions of years. I don't give no fucks what no historian, what no archaeologist has told us. It's a lie if you think that humanity is only 2,000 years old or 4,000 years old, whatever you think. 4,000 years old, we definitely know. But like Göbekli Tepe, that goes back to like 12,000 years BC, y'all. So like think about that for a second. 36,000 years BC. Some people actually date that. You know what I'm saying? So we are older. This existence of Earth is older. You and me right now, though, we have the gift of incarnating in a period where there's a 20 solid years of the Great Conjunction's influence in Aquarius. Do you have any clue how unique that is? It hasn't happened in hundreds of years since the Renaissance. You feel it has not happened like this. So think of where we were then in consciousness and think of where we are now in consciousness. We are coming forward into a more advanced vibration, a more advanced caliber of Aquarius than we've ever had before in humanity as you and I know it. So now that I've like fully gotten that out, again, Saturn is in good solid dignity to manifest what I need to manifest and do its Saturn thing. And Jupiter there is going to bring in better dignity than it has been the last couple of years. Thank goddess. You know what I'm saying? So this year it's going to be transiting through Aquarius. It will dip into Pisces and again back retrograde into Aquarius this year. 2021 is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, because for the next 20 years we have, yes, this snapshot. What you're looking at is a snapshot, like, oh my God, the baby was born, of the age of Aquarius. So yeah, 2021 is the year, because like, oh my God, that's like the prequel to entering January 1st. We're like 9 days away from the new year, you feel, and that is going to be that reason. But Jupiter is in Aquarius this year. Jupiter moves signs once a year. It takes a year for Jupiter to get through a sign. So next year, 2022, it'll still be the age of Aquarius, but okay, this Jupiter will be in Pisces next year, which by the way is great because Jupiter rules Pisces, and I'm very excited for what that's going to look like. However, this is the year where Jupiter, the other planet in the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that makes it the Great Conjunction, this is the year where Jupiter is still in Aquarius. And again, it will be in 12 years' time. So stay tuned for that, you feel? Big news, baby. Now, again, just kind of like getting to the point of what else is so exciting about this snapshot of the baby that is the age of Aquarius being born. Look at Mercury, y'all. This is so hot. This is so hot. I have not heard many, if any, astrologers talk about this. Mercury just went Kazemi, G. Look at this shit. Mercury was conjunct the sun at 0 degrees just days prior to this. You see, because the sun is 0 degrees here at Capricorn, again, hearkening the beginning of winter or the winter solstice. And Mercury was just back here, like not even a couple days ago, you feel? And now Mercury is at 1 degree of Capricorn. So Kazemi means when a planet is conjunct the sun perfectly. It's at the heart of the sun. It's sitting at the seat of the sun, and it is being burned, baby, burned like a freaking fire of holy just cleansing, because that's what the sun is. And now Mercury just went past that point. It just got burnt, but guess what? It's in recovery mode. It's been burnt, but guess what else went off in that? All the fat, all the shit that Mercury did not need, that is what just left behind when Mercury exited its Kazemi from the sun. So when it was Kazemi with the sun, it was like letting go of the lower vibrations of Mercury, the things that Mercury did not need, the things that no longer served Mercury. All of that went. Like the sun purifies the crap aspects of the planet that don't need to be there in the planet. And so Mercury is freshly purified, all that to say, in the sign of Capricorn. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that beautiful? Because Mercury rules our collective communications. Mercury rules our collective currency as well, our markets more specifically. Venus rules the currency in general. But Mercury rules our interface with each other, our intellect, our engagement with other people at an intellectual level, our communication at any way, shape, or form, our intellect in terms of our brain processes, and also our problem-solving capacity. And that is not a short thing to just gloss over. It is our problem-solving capacity, Mercury. So Mercury as an emblem, as an indicator of that, within me, within you, within every single person being on this planet, just got purified. Our problem-solving capacity just got cleansed at the birth chart, the snapshot of this holy heaven period that is the age of Aquarius. Isn't that remarkable? All that to say, what does it mean? It means we're going to be able to solve problems from a purer place for the next 20 years. We are going to be able to communicate from a clearer, more purified place for the next 20 years. Not only that, but our solutions, Mercury, the divine emblem of our solutions, is in Capricorn at this snapshot in time of this birth chart of this era, which means that we will be coming to tangibly practical solutions that are grounded. Capricorn, you do not know a Mercury Capricorn who is not grounded in some way, shape, or form with how they think about problem solving, period. That's just not out there, you feel. Mercury and Capricorn energy is very grounded, is very serious, is very pragmatic, is very practical. So this is our Mercury for the next 20 years of this era. This is how we people on this planet at this point in time, no matter your age, are bringing in this problem-solving capacity, this solution from an astrologically grounded standpoint. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I know you did. So hit that like button, share it with a friend, put us a comment down below. What are you looking forward to with the dawning of the age of Aquarius? How are you bringing in this era? What are you focusing on the next 20 years? How are you contributing to this? That is what I want to know. So thank you for the support. Thank you to all the high vibe people out there resonating with this content, sharing it with people, liking. You're so dope. So that's really what I gotta say. I did a lot other announcements in the beginning, and you know, throughout this era, y'all, not even throughout today, not even throughout tomorrow, but just may the stars and the forces be with all the light beings out there who are bringing in this awakening and consciousness. you're what's up. You are the new era. We are the change we've been waiting for. Aquarian liberation for the win. May the stars be with you.